In the name of God, the gracious, the merciful, we give him praise and thanks for his mercy and his goodness to the human family. If all the trees upon the earth were pens to write with, and if all the oceans were ink, and then another 7 oceans to add to its supply, the writing would still not be enough to explain the glory of God, for he's the exalted, all-powerful, all-wise. We confide in no other in our time of need, and we praise no other in our good fortune. He is one. And even if I lived to be 1,000, it would still not be enough to thank God for his many blessings and gifts. So this is Brother Sharif with the Hour of Power. Go to Hour of Power Sharif Hamid on YouTube. Subscribe and share the channel so we can continue to lift the mind, body, and soul of our people. Real quick, I want to let the listening audience know about a very powerful and needed event that we will have here in York, PA on Monday, July the 16th at Penn Park. We are asking all the brothers in the community to meet at Penn Park at 6 p.m. so we can address the violence in the city. We are going to lock arms, and we're not going to go to church. We're not going to go to the mosque and wait on anyone in that setting to address our needs. Not that it's anything wrong with those religious settings, but we're going to go right to the source of the problem right there, and we are going to go in the local community, address the people in the community, and see what we can do to address the problems and the violence in the city. So again, that's Monday, July 16th at 6 p.m. We're going to meet at Penn Park, all the brothers there, and we are going to address the problems, mainly the violence in the community, at Penn Park in York, PA. Again, that's Monday, July 16th. Now, getting into what we got going on here today. Over 50 years ago, our great ancestor, Minister Malcolm X, he addressed police brutality. And here we are 50 years later, and I encourage people to go to YouTube and just simply Google Malcolm X on police brutality. And he talked about a criminal element. And he talked about how the media creates an atmosphere where they portray our boys, mainly black and Latino boys, as thugs, as criminals, and out of control. So when the police go into our communities, it justifies anything that they do afterwards. And he called it the criminal element. So please go to YouTube and Google our great ancestor, Minister Malcolm, when he talked about this over 50 years ago. And now here we are, midway through 2018. We got Sandra Bland, Eric Gardner, Trayvon Martin. If you saw what happened with Trayvon Martin, it's just what Malcolm said. They created a criminal element and said because he smoked weed, it was justified for George Zimmerman what he did. Eric Gardner, and on and on and on. So now, here we are in 2016. We had a tragic event, and I'm not going to say it was a criminal element. I'm going to let someone who was there and who is the mother of this young man that she's going to explain, our brother Shaleek Pinckney. I believe it was a criminal element that caused that event, but I'm going to let this sister explain it. But before we bring our sister on, Sister Kim Thomas, we have our wonderful sister here, Sister Katherine. Can you explain yourself, sis, briefly?
Well, my name is Katherine Lugaro. I've been doing work at the activist community for a long time, starting since high school. And now we've moved on to launch Harrisburg Rising, which is a community defense organization based out of Harrisburg City. What we do is train and educate activists in nonviolent protest tactics, de-escalation procedures. Also, we are aiming towards teaching self-defense, not only for women, but for fellow activists. We provide a lot of services to the people in our community. So we do a lot of social justice and criminal justice work when it comes to police brutality and abuse of power. And that's how we met Miss Kim after her son was tragically killed by Harrisburg City Police. So we've been working with Miss Kim and the reason why I'm here mainly is because we're doing an event with Miss Kim. We're all doing an event together to honor Shaleek and celebrate his life, so his name doesn't go out in the air and just die off somewhere. So we want his name to live on. You know.
Excuse me, I was looking on your page. You actually did some intervention with some Muslim groups too there, right?
Yeah, we did. We had the solidarity with the Muslim community rally. We had about 400 people there. A lot of local organizations got involved, like CARE, MILPA, CASA. CARE, we had Aisha Noor. She's part of the board of CARE. She works with a lot of refugee families from Syria and just basically Middle Eastern countries, people that come here and need help. She works, close with the governor and stuff like that. That was a pretty successful rally because it brought a lot of people out. Didn't turn out exactly how I would have liked, but I do things different. But we do a lot of work with the Muslim community as well.
Okay. All right. So, and thank you for that, sis. And for the listening audience out there, our young queen, Sister Alicia, who's running the camera, we greatly appreciate her. She'll continue to loop your information so people can see. And also, if anyone wants to call in, the call-in number is 717-846-5067. That's 717-846-5067. If you want to call in and make a comment, but we're going to allow our sister to first. I want you to give us your name and tell us about your son before we get into what actually happened. The floor is yours, Queen.
My name is Kim Thomas. I'm Earl Shaleek Pinckney's mom. My son was 20 years old. He finished school. He had a career going on with himself. He had a baby. She's 2 today, exactly. Today is her born day. He always smiled. He cared about people. If he had $1 in his pocket, he would give it to you. Like, he wasn't out there selling drugs. He wasn't out there trying to kill anybody. He was just himself. He had a few friends. He didn't hang all around with people doing bad things. He was more getting his life together. He was getting his life together to be a man, which he knew that he was having a baby. And I felt like when he did get it together, he finished school and he got it together, he got a job, and being successful, boom. August 7th, 2016, one shot took my son away, right next to me.
All right. So you gave a brief explanation, about your son. He was doing, positive things, trying to navigate through this world, which isn't easy for Black and Latino men, particularly Black men. I had talked to you before about that day. Can you explain what was going on that day before that event happened?
That day, Shaleek, he had so much on his mind. He just had a little baby, his girlfriend, me getting on him. So he was with peer pressure, and I didn't realize it until that happened. But that day he was arguing with everybody constantly during the day. Let me just go back a little bit. He suffered from bipolar disorder.
Okay.
We knew that he suffered from that. So I asked him that day, did he take his medicine? He said, yeah, which I know he did.
And real quick, not to interrupt you, just so we making it clear for the listening audience, at what point in his life did you recognize that he had bipolar?
Well, it took for him to destruct something, which was mine, and I'm his mom. I wanted him to get some help. I got him locked up. His mom.
Okay.
I wanted him to be put away, which I knew that wasn't a good thing. But then again, I wanted him to know this was serious. And then at the time, that's when I found out he started getting help. He started going to classes to see
At
what's
what
going on.
age?
This was like 19 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, 19 years old, trying to figure out what was going on so he can get it right, and he was getting it right. You know, he finished school. He went to Red Rock. He finished school. He was successful. He did what he had to do at the end of the day, and you know, it's crazy because that's what I wanted him to do, and I fought for him to do it, and he did it. You know, and it's like, man, you would never even think like it would hit your front door like this. Like,
Do you think, and take your time, it's okay, we're here for you. Do you think that, did you see any signs or symptoms of him struggling before 19?
yes, I did. I cried out for help several times. Cried out for help. I'm a mom that had 5 kids, and respectfully, I cried out for help. No help at all. I pushed for help in the school system. I pushed for help in all kinds of things, IEPs and stuff like that, and they never came with anything saying that his education or you know he wasn't smart, but it wasn't even that. You know, he had an anger management problem. We knew that, you know, and he went to classes for that. I pushed that, you know. He had his struggle through his life like a lot of black young men, you know. He had his father in his life, you know. He does have a father. He had his father in his life, but just, you know, sometimes our children don't listen to us the way that they supposed to listen to us. And you know, and I know I'm not the only mom that went through this. You know, it's more than me. But my son got killed right beside me through a window over a 911 call.
And for the listening audience, for obvious reasons, we're not going to play the actual 911 call, but maybe Miss Katherine can tell us how you could look that up on YouTube for yourself. So let's go back to that day, because you had said that he was having a rough day that day, which is understandable when you have bipolar disorder. I'm a therapist and a counselor, so I'm very experienced with mental health, and your son's spirit is still with us today, because what I hope this does is encourage people who may be suffering with mental health. Like you said, get help. Just don't let it go to get help. So his spirit is still living today. But take us back to the beginning of that day, because you said he was having a rough day, and explain what was going on and the steps you took to try to get him help that day.
I called the police. I called them 6 times, exactly 6 times. No one came. Called them, we need help. Someone please help us. My son has he has bipolar. He's acting outlandish. You know, he wants to fight people, such and such and such. And then the 911 person, I blame them too, because you call 911, and they don't listen to you. Sometimes they hung up on you. I think she hung up on me like 2 times.
So what was going on when you had called them?
He was arguing with his sisters and brothers.
Okay.
He was fighting, outlashing, and he has older sisters and brothers. So they started arguing back with him, and he was saying stuff to me, and they was like, "You're not going to get disrespectful with mom," you know. And it was over going to the store, So they started arguing back and forth the whole day. I had all the kids with me the whole day. But then that night, approximately, I said it had to start about 9:00. Upstairs, I was in my room. So him and his sister was arguing, and they started fighting. So I went in the room, and I said, "Y'all stop it, cut it out." So or everybody else comes running up the stairs, because they know how Shaleek is. He's the tough one. So I said, "You know what, stop fighting." I broke them up. I said, "Everybody go downstairs." I didn't know that they went outside. I said, "Everybody go downstairs." So they went downstairs. Shaleek was still, you know, off and yelling and screaming. You know, nobody don't care. You know, he suffers from bipolar. So, you know, actually, you know, he goes in and out. You know, and I don't think that day he took his medicine, but like I said, he was stressed out about so many things. So, my understanding, because I was upstairs in the room with him, I got him calm. We were talking. I said, Shaleek, we're going to talk about this tomorrow. And as I say, Shaleek, we're going to talk about this tomorrow, he said, Mom, I love you. I said, I love you too. He kissed me on my forehead. And as he kissed me on my forehead, we see this like little shingle outside of the window. We hear a little noise. So I'm like, who's out there? Nobody says anything. I said it several times. Who's out there? I worked for law enforcement for 10 years. So I pretty much know the law. No one answered. Next news I know, my son kissed me on my forehead. And then I moved back and was like, who's out there? Then the air conditioner came out the window. Boom. The shade came down. Boom. The window went up. Boom. Next news I know, bam.
Let's back up a little bit, Miss Thomas. When you say you called the cops, you literally made a 911 call. What did the operator say? Did they say they were sending someone out?
They kept on saying they sending somebody out. I said,
and
well,
no one came six times.
No one came, and this started about 12 o'clock in the afternoon. They waited till 9. I guess it was about 9:30. They waited to come. That cop jumped up on the rooftop of his room, pulled out the air conditioner, let the shades fall, pull up the window, and one shot. And after that, he runs down off of it. My older son is out there, and he's going to say, my older son said, did you shoot my brother? He said, no, I tased him. How are you going to say that you tased somebody and you shot them? And they said my son had a knife on my neck. My son didn't have no knife on my neck. Not at all. He didn't have no knife on my neck. They took my clothes. I still haven't returned. They haven't returned my clothes back. They haven't returned my phone back. It took me 10 months to get my son's death certificate. Why did it take 10 months? I still will never know. I've been fighting this battle for so long, and I'm going to keep on fighting until my last breath.
So the audience understands from 12 p.m. on August 7th, 2016, you made several calls, and they said someone was coming, and no one never came.
Never came. No one ever came.
And you kept calling back, so you made approximately 6 calls.
And you know I made them calls because they put me in the cop car. The cop showed me that I made 6 calls and nobody came. 6. It was 6 calls. I have everything logged down, everything that happened that day. When they came upstairs after they shot my son, they dragged me down my stairs, dragged me. I had brush burns on my knees. I gets outside, the chief of police is out there, and he tells me, what am I going to do about my officer? Not, ma'am, are you okay? Please sit down. Everything, nothing. He didn't even come in the house at all. I was so stung. And then these 2 law enforcement people comes up to me and said, oh, he had a knife to your neck. No, I'm not that shocked. My son didn't have no knife to my neck. You see any blood on me?
So let's talk about that, Ms. Thomas, because I listened to the 911 call, and so everyone is clear, and so no one says that we're bashing the police department or anything like that. I listened to the 911 call. Who is Naima?
That's my daughter. That's my oldest daughter.
Naima's your daughter.
Yeah.
So on the 911 call that I heard, she had mentioned that Shaleek had a knife.
Yes.
Can you clear that up or give us some clarity on that?
You know, until today, I still think about that because it's a year and 11 months, some days and some hours. I can keep on counting. Maybe she did that, honestly, for them to come.
Okay.
For them to
So
come.
you can hurry up.
Because you were called 6 times.
We done called 6 times. And you know what? I believe that's why she said that. And then they came, and they came to kill.
So we have it clear. So was it on the 6th attempt or on the On the sixth attempt, after she said there was a knife,
Yes.
then they came.
Then they came.
Now, once they got there, where were you and Shaleek?
In his room.
In the room. It was just you and him.
Just me and him.
What was going on at that time?
We were talking. Like I said, we were talking. I was asking him what was wrong.
No gun, no knife.
Guns, no knife, no nothing. Nothing. We was just talking. You know, and as we was talking.
It's okay. You can move that bug away.
Yeah. As we were talking, and like I said, he kissed me on my forehead. I can never forget it. He kissed me on my forehead and said, "Mom, I love you." I said, "I love you too." And then I told him, I said, "We're gonna talk about this tomorrow." Tomorrow came.
So he was kind of calming down.
Yeah,
actually,
he was
at that
calm.
time.
He was calm until that noise came to the window.
What
So
noise?
it was like a little rattle noise, like we heard somebody out there, and then a flashlight.
Did they ever actually come in?
Never.
Did they use any de-escalating tactics? Or
Never,
nothing?
never. And then I said, "We are right in here." I said it several times. "We are right in here. We are right in here." Still no answer. No, ma'am, okay. They never came in the house. The room was so small. They said it was about 5 or 6 cops in there. It was no way. The room would have been rambled.
Did they get on the bullhorn and say, "Sir, come outside"?
No, nothing. Nothing at all. No one said, it was so quiet until, like I said, when he pulled that air conditioner out. And them blinds fell, bloop. And that window came up, boop. And a red dot, boom. That was it.
All right. If you don't mind, let me switch to Miss Catherine, because she's dealt with things like this. Miss Catherine, what you dealing with police and situations where we have things like this. Have you ever seen where the police with other ethnic groups, they have used de-escalating tactics before?
I saw an experiment that some college students did where they had a white man walking up the street with a semi-automatic firearm, peacefully walking, open carrying. The police don't bother him. They rode past, saw and everything. And then the same kids, a black student did the same thing. 3 cop cars come. He's laying on the ground. They even had his pregnant girlfriend on the floor. There is definitely a divide between how they deal with white and even more lighter shaded people than how they treat the black men, especially in the community, and black women as well. If they could bring in Dylan Roof after he just killed 9 people in a church, and stop at Burger King to get him food along the way, and then harass the black families to give him instant forgiveness at an arraignment at night court. If they could find a way to bring those precious boys, and they can find a way to deal with ours, I think. I think it's a clear show of racism.
Right. And let me say this, and we're going to bring it back to Ms. Thomas. When I was in Durham, North Carolina, doing my internship for my master's program in counseling, I did it at a crisis unit. And at that crisis unit, they had what they called a task force. This is when I first learned this. And they had a task force that specifically was trained to deal with crisis situations. And they said this task force was designed, again, this was in Durham, North Carolina, to go out with the police to de-escalate certain situations with people with mental health illnesses. And they would send the task force out to supposedly de-escalate the situation so lethal force wouldn't be used. And I said, wow, I never knew such a thing existed. And I was an intern there. They said, yeah, Mr. Hamid, almost every county has this task force if they want to use it. And then I thought of you 2 young ladies the other night. I was watching TV, and it was called LAPD. And it was this young white guy there with a sawed-off shotgun in the door. And he was inside the screened-off porch. And they're sitting there negotiating with him. No shots was fired. It almost made me sick to my stomach. And I about threw the remote at the TV because I started thinking of my brother here and started thinking of what you do. They're sitting negotiating back and forth with him. He had a sawed-off shotgun, and they're going back and forth with him, the police, and they're like almost begging him to calm down. So I'm like, okay, where's the negotiation at? And so now, picking up what you said.
I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Well, Harrisburg City Police, they don't have any training in de-escalation. And in fact, instead of asking for funds to start a training program for officers to develop some kind of mental health training and skills to deal with difficult situations, instead of that, they asked for $65,000 in riot gear. But they have a program where if a woman is abused, they have the women that work with the police department that go. They need to have also the same task force that goes to these situations, knows what they're walking into and knows how to deal with it, and not send aggressive police officers, because we're still working on it. But our understanding is that Mr. Tony Elliott, the officer that killed Shaleek Moss, that he was transferred from a different police department. So we're looking into why that is as we speak.
In Harrisburg, he was transferred?
He was transferred from Allegheny here. So from Philadelphia area to Harrisburg, he was transferred.
We see this happen all the time. Okay, back to you, Ms. Thomas. So at that, you doing okay? At that point, you're saying it was no knife, there was no weapon, and y'all were, the room that you were in, could it be, could they see you from outside when they pulled up? The room that you and Shaleek was in?
We were in the back.
You were in the back?
Yeah.
So they couldn't even see you?
No.
So how did that laser that you were talking about, that you seen, how did they position themselves to where they could see you? Is that what happened?
Yes.
Pick up, you tell me what happened.
After he pulled that air conditioner out that window.
Who did that?
That was Tony Elliott. I didn't know at first who the cop was. I fought for 3 months to find out who this police officer was, because I didn't want to walk down the street knowing that he knew me and I did not know him. So I fought. And sure enough, and Harrisburg Rising fought, we went to council board, and they finally gave up his name.
Okay.
And then I saw a picture of him.
Now you said he pulled out the air conditioner. So the police out there had to position themselves where they was at the back of the house
yes.
where you was. So
he had to climb up.
So he pulled the air. Now, when he pulled the air conditioner out, what did you and Shaleek do at that point?
We looked. We was like, "What's going on?" You know, we both got startled, and my son was like, "Well, I ain't going back to jail," you know, because he was just in jail for 3 months doing, doing his time, and he paid for his time to do what he had done to my car. He tore my car up, and I was like, "Look, y'all gonna have to take him, or y'all gonna take me." So they took him, you know. At the end of the day, I wanted him to go to some type of rehab help or something like that. Like I said, he wasn't on drugs or anything, and they know that. And I know, and they know that for the fact that when they did that autopsy, they was looking for drugs. I know my son didn't do no drugs. My son was Muslim when he left from here. He took his
Shahid.
Yeah, yes he did. You know, he was making peace with himself. You know, his daughter and her mom, they're Muslim too, you know, so he was trying to just clear himself and do right.
You had mentioned before, Ms. Thomas, that they knew that he suffered from bipolar. How did you come to that conclusion?
I came to that for the fact that when he got locked up, you have all that in the records.
Right.
When you stop at a person's house, like I said, I worked for law enforcement for 10 years. I worked in the prison. I might have worked in the kitchen, but I was just like a CO, just like they was. So therefore, when you pull up someone's records, it shows their status. Right. So you already know their status. If they're a murderer, if something's wrong with them, if they have any kind of disability, such and such and such, because he was on probation. So therefore, they had his whole status. When he came up on that rooftop, he already knew what Shaleek was about. And I don't know if they ever had an encounter till today, but I'm hoping that justice will prevail. And I really want face to face with him. Why did you shoot my son that night? What was you out to kill? And then I have seen him several times in my neighborhood as I'm walking, and he's following behind me with the truck and looking at me. Now I have a big bag on me. I'm licensed to carry. So now if I go in my bag, what can happen?
Right.
It's scary.
And
I'm sorry.
Go
Can
ahead,
I?
Ms. Kim.
So the what Ms. Kim was saying is that this officer was not removed from patrol outside her house, even after the shooting for over a year.
Tony Elliott.
Yeah,
Yes.
he was still patrolling Ms. Kim's neighborhood even after the shooting, which
Every day.
Every day.
yeah, which I'm not sure about every day. I know that he was still
Almost
patrolling that
every
area.
day. I know almost
And,
every day. I know almost every day. I worked at night. I got 2 jobs back again. I worked at night. I walked down 3rd Street. I saw him in the pizza shop. I saw him drive past me. And then one time an incident happened down the block. And I woke up, I went down the block to see what was going on, and I filmed it on camera, and I looked at him. That was my first time really seeing him face to face. I said, why did you shoot my son? Next news I know, they removed him and put him in the car.
So right after this fatal incident on August 7th, 2016, how long after that would you say he started patrolling your neighborhood?
I say a month after.
A month after.
Yeah, as soon as they said that the case was justified. How can you justify something like that?
So
and
I
you
think
know
this
what
was
happened.
probably his route that he was already in,
was already on.
and they put him on leave and then let him come back to the same
him
route
come
instead
back.
of.
Came to the
So
same route.
Miss Kim and I, we were very persistent
Yes.
in getting members of council and the police chief to please move him to a different area of town, which now he's policing Hall Manor in the Hill.
But still, but still,
Yeah,
he's policing the area. He shouldn't be in the area.
agreed.
Because people
I
in the
still have
neighborhood,
children.
right? People in the neighborhood probably
Yes.
knew your
my
son,
son.
so that could have caused a volatile situation
Exactly.
just having him
Exactly.
there,
And
they
that's
still
not
put
even
him there.
that's not even the only thing. After that, months ago, I say about 3 or 4 months ago, my daughter lives on a block. So he pulls out his gun on another young man. And my daughter is yelling saying, "Oh, you're the guy that killed my brother. You're the guy." This is what I'm saying. Anything could have happened because he's nervous.
And Ms. Thomas, so no one out there is saying that the hour of power is being biased in one way or another.
Right.
Once you said they pulled the air conditioner out,
Yes.
and then what happened?
The shade fell down.
The shade fell down. Okay.
So me and him startled, like what, So
Did anyone announce, say, "Hey, this is Harrisburg Police"?
Never said nothing.
When-
After
and
he
when
shot my son, never said nothing. I didn't know what happened.
And-
when happened.
But once they pulled the air conditioner out, did you guys know that was the police out
we
there?
heard the radio.
You heard the radio. They didn't say, "Hey, we want to see what's going on."
No,
like the
nothing.
de-escalation tactics
No.
that we see on TV,
No,
and we know.
never came in the room.
Okay.
Nothing. He jumped down
Okay.
off that roof. My neighbor
Who
saw
jumped
him.
down off the roof?
Tony Elliott,
Okay.
and they said it was another cop, but they don't really talk about that. You know who
Okay.
that is. But they said it was 2. But he came down, he came running out, and my son said, "Did you shoot my brother?" Because everybody said they heard that one shot, and he said no. He said I tased him. I was still in the room looking at. I was so in shock, like they shot my. I couldn't save my son if I wanted to.
You said you saw a red
A
dot
red
on his,
dot.
and then you just heard a shot.
Yeah, I heard a red dot, and so no, I saw the red dot.
Right.
And I looked and I said, "I know you're not trying to shoot my son out there."
You was
And
like
I-
yelling out the window.
Yeah. He's still no response. For him to be a police officer, you are here to protect us, not to kill
Could you
us.
see him when you were inside? Could you see him outside?
Nope. I
Okay.
couldn't see him.
You
because
just
the
seen
shade.
someone pull
Yes.
the air conditioner.
Yes, and
then-
at first I didn't know what was going on, but then when I see these cops come up, as a matter of fact, one cop came up, looked in the room, and then went back downstairs. And I see this cop all the time. He can't even look at me in my face. And then minutes later, I'm up there like, what the heck? I'm so much in shock. We got 3 cops, 3 white officers come up, and 2 of them drag me down the stairs.
So you saw the dot on your son, and
On
then
his chest.
and then did a shot come after that?
Boom, and the blood just comes shooting out. It just comes shooting out like a fountain. It just
Okay.
comes
All
shooting
right.
out like a fountain, and I couldn't
Okay.
believe it because I was like, what the heck? baby boy. Christmas time, Mother's Day, I don't care what it was. He always had something for me. It's like this tragedy never ends.
Right. Okay. So we're not going to keep reliving now. We're just trying to make it clear. So after that, they never found a weapon, right?
Yeah, they found a knife. They said they found a knife. He worked for Fresh Express.
Okay.
He had that knife where he cut bags and boxes open. So they found a knife. They told me that night I couldn't go in my house.
Could you get her
I couldn't go in my house. I said, no, I'm going in my house. That's my house. I need to go in my house. So they took so long. They took so long. I'm like, why is they taking so long? They were looking for something. They were looking
So is that what they tried to say, what they found when Naima called and said there was a knife?
Yes.
So is that what they're justifying?
That's what they're justifying. But, and I shouldn't say but, you come and take swabs off my neck and find nothing. You see my clothes, no blood on them, because, you know, I was so in shock. I see a fountain coming out of my son.
Were you injured?
No. The only thing that happened to me when they dragged me down the stairs. And I suffer from lupus. And one of the cops, one of the white cops, I may say, he was pretty okay. But them other two, they just drugged me down, drugged me from the back hallway and drugged me down them stairs till I got to the door and just like let me out like I was a piece of garbage. That's how I felt, a piece of garbage. And I'm looking at the chief of police and said, they shot my son. He didn't say nothing, just shook his head. What am I going to do about my officer? Not Miss Thomas, you okay? You all right? Nothing.
We've seen what in the case of Baltimore City Police, what's been going on there, where their police chief actually told them to bring fake guns and have them in their car in case they shoot someone. So it wouldn't be too much off target if these police officers would have planted something to justify. And that's what they do all the time, you know, like they want to justify 6 shots in Mike Brown's back over a cigar. You know, they want to justify Tamir Rice, a 12-year-old, dying literally as a result of a drive-by by police officers. He died less than 2 seconds of them arriving on the scene. So it wouldn't be the first time.
I can hear his game. So like our brother said when I talked about in the beginning, Minister Malcolm talked about the media creating a criminal element, so it will justify almost anything that they do. Do you see that relevant in what happened with your son, creating a criminal element to justify anything that they do? And then on top of that, to have the same man, whether it's justified or not, let's just say it was justified, he's going to patrol the neighborhood. That's
arrogantly
volatile.
So our argument to the chief of police and the mayor when it came to moving Mr. Elliott was that not only is that causing post-traumatic stress syndrome in Miss Kim, but her family, and then we have to spin it so that, you know, now they'll care if you say, well, the police officer must be traumatized as well. And then things happen when you bring them into it. But, you know, when you say, hey, like Miss Kim says, calling for help 6 times didn't work, but saying, oh, look, a black man with a knife, now they'll come. You know, they don't come when you say, come help me. I even saw a video of a woman whose son has disabilities, like mental capacity is diminished. And she calls for help and says, my son needs help, he's out of control. He didn't even step out the door and the cops shot him. He opened the door and he didn't even take a step out. And they justified that too. And you could hear the mom screaming, you know, you killed my son. So they find a reason. If we can watch the murder of Eric Garner from beginning to end, and those officers are still on duty right now, still getting paid. Officers in New York get paid about $90,000 a year. So they're still making good money, and their crime was filmed from beginning to end, and they just got away with it. So.
And you said this officer is in Allegheny County right
He
now?
was. No, he's transferred to Harrisburg from Allegheny.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's a person that came here from there. So we're just checking to see why they moved him here. If he just moved here on his own, or if there was others. So you know how they move teachers around and priests and stuff like that. So.
And my thing is, because my undergrad is actually in criminal justice and my master's in counseling, and they've always said that lethal force is supposed to be the last resort. I even remember coming up in school, and they would say, the friends, the people in blue are friends of you, and we were trained to think that they were here to protect and serve, but we see time after time after time a disparity in justice. No one is here. The hour of power is not here saying every single police officer or every single white police officer is doing these things, but we see it enough that we see a disparity. Let's take the worst case scenario with this going on with Sister Kim and her son. Do you think lethal force was necessary in this?
Hell no.
And then of course
not only do the police need training to deal with people that have mental health issues, they also need to have every 6 months get psychological testing to be sure that they are fit for the job that they're. You can't just hand somebody a gun and a badge and say, these people are the enemy, go get them. We push for officers to have to live in the neighborhoods where they police, so that they could see the people that they are sent to manage as neighbors and not enemy combatants. So it's when you get an officer from a suburban area that's not familiar with Black culture, Latino culture, how we live, who we are as people, how we get along, and how we talk to each other. It's like they're entering into a foreign territory, and they treat it as a war zone. So they come ready to fight. Unfortunately for us, they're the ones with the authority and the guns and the badges. So
Sister Kim, and I just have to applaud you for your courage, just coming here and be able to speak on this and relive such a horrific incident that happened. From your perspective, what are they saying, or what have they told you was their justification of from what they did from the time they got there? Did they address the 6 calls that they didn't come? What have they told you is their justification of the steps and the procedures that they took on that day?
They never said basically anything to me. It's just that he had a knife. That was the justification. But if he had a knife, which he didn't have a knife, and I have his death certificate, it would say something on there with his hand clutch. It would say something. When people get killed, it says something. They take an autopsy on them, especially when it comes to these police brutality cases. They hold our children's bodies for weeks and weeks and weeks, trying to find something to justify it. They did not justify anything. They said the case is cold. No, this case will stay hot as long as I live.
So the main thing they're saying is that he had a knife, and he because it was a quote unquote volatile situation, they almost had to save your life. Is that what they're saying?
No, they wasn't saving my life, because if he would have rung out with 1 or 2 more shots, I wouldn't be here talking to you right now.
Right.
He rung out 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, 1. And I believe he was so scared when he rung out that 1 shot, he jumped down, and then he said he tased someone. He didn't tase anyone. He shot someone. He killed someone's son, someone's father. And I look today and be like, did this really happen? Is this a dream? And then, if you remember the story of Corin Gaines, the young lady that killed in Baltimore, I met her mom.
Wow.
I basically know her. They're what? 3 days apart. Hers was the 6th.
Mm-hmm.
I think hers was around the time, like they're like 3 days apart.
Mm-hmm.
But look what happened. Look what happened. And it just keep on continuing and continuing and when is it going to stop?
Right.
If we don't come together and unite and do something about this, it's just going to keep on going and going and going and going. And then it's going to hit your front door, and then you're going to feel like I feel, or maybe worse. You might not be able to stand on your feet. Sometimes I don't feel like standing. Sometimes I want to give up. I tried to court suicide 3 times.
And with the hour of power, we want to make it clear with this station, we're not just here to report, tragedies in our community, then just move on to the next interview or whatever. We're here to bring about solutions to our problems, to alleviate pain and suffering amongst black and brown people. So I'm asking you right now, what is it that we can do to support you and help you moving forward? I know that's a loaded question, and we talked a few times. What can we do to help you? Because you had just mentioned about some of the calls you made, and I know you had told me you have trouble, sleeping, at night. What can we do to support you moving forward?
The only thing I can say is just pray for me each and every day. That's my strength. Because I know a lot of people is out there praying for me. Because I think if I didn't have prayer in me, or who I believe in and have faith, I don't think I'd be sitting here. And I have faith. And I know justice is going to prevail, because I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to let this go. And in my city, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, we have so many. We have still officers walking around that killed people. They're still walking around. I look in their faces. I research. I know facts. For the fact that this happened to my son and it hit my front door, I do research so I can know the facts. We have not only police brutality, homicides unsolved in my community. People need to start reaching out, coming together. What is the solution? I don't even know anymore.
Right.
It's just it's hard, and then it's hard because sometimes I feel like people look at me like, oh, nothing's gonna be done. No, something's gonna be done. You have to fight this. This is a war zone right now. You can't come at them with a butter knife. It's no way. It's not gonna happen. You have to dig deep.
Right. Miss Catherine, since this case here, and we're not taking no light off of this case, and I think Miss Thomas had already kind of answered that you deal with this. Has there been anything similar to this after what happened to our brother Shaleek?
There's been incidences of Harrisburg City Police being super aggressive with people. A couple months ago, someone had a fake ID at a club named Sawyer's on 2nd Street downtown, and the police went there and pepper sprayed like 150 people over a fake ID.
That's
and that's
City?
Okay. That's downtown here. That's important because there's people that have respiratory issues, heart issues. They could easily kill someone with pepper spray. Our goal is to keep Shaleek's name out, keep his story alive, so that people don't forget what happened to Shaleek, and hopefully out of this we'll get some mental health training for officers and psychological testing. That's actually what on my end what I would like to see. I know, and also it would be nice if the officer would get fired and turn in his badge. He does not deserve to have it. If this is the kind of things that if this is how he chooses to deal with situations.
Right.
So
Sister Alicia, excuse me, if you can loop Sister Catherine's information with Harrisburg Rising, so the people viewing can see it. Yeah, there it is. So
So we're
You can
having an event August 5th. It's a
Mhm.
celebration of Earl Shaleek Moss Pinckney's Jr.'s life.
Mhm.
It's also to bring awareness to police brutality in our city and nationally. So to what we could do for Miss Kim, one thing is to support her and show up, be there for her. We want to make this an annual event.
Mhm.
We have secured a permit. We do have legal observers.
Mhm.
We are actively seeking speakers that want to come and shed light on the issues that matter to us as a community, a brown, black community.
Mhm.
And we also have a member of the Zulu Nation that's looking for dancers, and she's working on that right now.
You
So
said that's August 5th in
August
Harrisburg?
5th from 1 to 4.
Okay.
It's at the Capitol.
Is
So what-
that on a Saturday?
It's on a Sunday, so it's
It's on
free.
a Sunday.
It's free
Okay.
parking, so everybody come,
Okay.
please.
I'm gonna definitely try to
Please do.
make that event. I don't want to put too much on you, sis, but do you think you and the brother can come down on Monday? Would you all be able to come down on Monday for the event we're having at the park?
It's up to Miss Kim. If Miss Kim
Mhm.
is ready, we
Yeah.
can go.
Yes. Sister Kim has
We
some
could-
support here.
We could
in
bring
the
some
studio.
flyers. We could bring
Um,
some flyers and print and
So,
pass them
so
out.
again, for the listening audience out there, because this the show is about to wrap up in a couple minutes, we have a program at York at Penn Park, 6 p.m. July 16th, where I'm calling on the brothers to meet at the park to address the violence in the community. Now, this situation here is police brutality. That's what we believe, but it's all connected. Like you said, the key word.
That's right.
We have to come together, and until we value each other, no one else is going to value us. That doesn't give them the license to kill, because again, if we take the worst scenario with this, which we don't believe, and you said there was no knife there, that don't mean lethal force needed to be used.
Regardless.
Lethal force didn't need to be used with Eric Gardner. He didn't need to be choked out. Tamir Rice didn't need to be shot. He was a child. So we know it's a disparity in justice when situations happen with blacks, Latinos in the police as compared to other ethnic groups. This just don't happen. How can you kill 9 people in a church and walk away and then get Burger King? And in that situation I saw on TV the other day about made me sick, and I thought of both of you. This man had a sawed-off shotgun, and he walked away with his life, unscathed. How can this happen? So it's like Minister Malcolm said, the criminal element. That gives them the justification to do what they want to do, and it's actually a war tactic.
We call it the criminalization of black skin and
Right.
blackness.
It's a war tactic because they have done it internationally. If we demonize Saddam Hussein, that will give us the justification to drop bombs on the
Exactly.
whole country. If we demonize Osama bin Laden, someone who George Bush's father used to be in business with his father, if we demonize him, that will give us the justification to go in Afghanistan and do what we want to do. So it's an international and a communal war tactic. We have 5 minutes, Sister Kim. Anything else you want to say to make it clear about your son? Let's end it on a positive thing about your son. Anything that we can do? Anything else you want to say for us to put a positive light on about your son?
Just a smile.
Like we
That
see there.
smile. Always had that smile. That smile really hit it off. That smile. Just by looking at his smile, just makes me fight more harder.
And
Yes. And his daughter's birthday is today.
yeah.
Happy
My aunt's
birthday.
birthday is today. And I know he's looking on us. His spirit is here all the time. You know, like I said, I used to wear a dog chain, but I changed it because my son is not a dog, so I'm not wearing no chain around my neck with him. So I wear it on my arm now. I do have a tattoo. I would never think that I would get a tattoo with my son's name on it, but it's with us holding hands. So a positive thought is, you know, just be safe out there and love one another. And we need to unite, because if we don't, it's fire.
And real quick, is this case in any court proceedings as we speak?
No.
No,
It's just
not-
sitting
not
still
yet.
right now.
It's,
No, they
it's-
said it's solved.
Yeah, it's sitting still right now.
Mhm.
But you know, on the legal aspects, I don't really like to talk about it
Right.
because sometimes you talk about things and then
Mhm.
people just overflow with it and then it drains again. I
Mhm.
learned from a year and a half. Like, you know, sometimes you gotta sit back and stay still and do what you have to do.
And Miss Catherine, so you said that's August the 5th. Where's the location again?
At the PA State Capitol steps in Harrisburg. So
Okay,
the
so it's
Capitol
at the
building
state
on the steps.
Mm-hmm. And that's from 1 to 4.
From 1 to 4, yeah. Also,
Right.
if you go to Harrisburg Rising page on Facebook, we have a
Mhm.
list of events, and we also have opportunities. Miss Kim and I went out last weekend and passed out flyers, and I mean, these are the days that we love the most, the our outreach and canvassing days. We literally just go and knock on strangers' doors and say, hey, you want to talk? You know, do you know what's happening in the nation? Do you know what's happening in our city? This time we got to share Shaleek's story and pass out flyers, and we got a lot of good feedback, people interested in coming to the event, wanting to help. And we're going to go do it again next weekend. So Sunday, if anyone wants to come and help us pass out flyers, if you message Harrisburg Rising, we'll give you the location. We don't like to share it on
Mm-hmm.
because of
Right. Mm-hmm.
safety
And
issues.
I appreciate what we have 2 minutes left. I appreciate what you're doing, Sister Catherine, with the Harrisburg Rising, because it goes way beyond what you see, because you're actually bringing Black and Latino people together. We could be here another 2 hours just talking on the power of that, because a lot of us suffer, you know, from the same thing. We have a lot of the same struggle, but yet a lot of us don't know our history of how we're connected and how powerful it would be if we would
Absolutely.
come together. We could shake this whole foundation.
Absolutely.
So
I agree.
continue to do what you're doing to bring us together as a people. And people may not know, the only thing that separates us is when they brought us here
Yeah.
from Africa.
gotta-
They dropped some of us off in the islands, and they brought some of us here. But we are the same people. We
Yep.
are one. So this is
Sure.
Brother Sharif with the Hour of Power. Go to Hour of Power, Sharif Hamid on YouTube. Subscribe and share the channel. Just go to Hour of Power on YouTube. Sharif Hamid, SHAREEF HAMEED on YouTube. Subscribe and share. You know the motto, so we can continue to lift the mind, body, and soul of our people, mentally, physically, and spiritually. We are one. July 16th, 6 p.m. at Penn Park. All the brothers and sisters come up there so we can address the violence in our community. So this is the Hour of Power. Thank you for listening.
Thank
Sit
you.
still.